Scientists say, if it can happen, it will happen. If it's not forbidden, it's compulsory. Is existence forbidden? Clearly, it isn't. So, it's compulsory. But what does compulsory mean? Does it mean that it necessarily comes into existence from non-existence? Or does it mean that it necessarily exists forever? These are two radically different situations. Science believes that existence is temporal and contingent and can come from non-existence. That is in fact a category error, hence is forbidden. Existence cannot come from non-existence. Hence, existence has always existed, which is what any sane interpretation of the law of conservation of energy mandates. Yet science refuses to accept logic, that existence is eternal and necessary. When it comes to existence, it's not a case of if it can happen, it will happen. It must happen. Actually, it doesn't happen at all, unless we can use happen in the context of happening forever. Existence is necessary. It is mandatory. It is compulsory. This is disastrous for science since science denies eternal and necessary existence. Science is entirely about the temporal and contingent. Science imagines the universe coming into existence at the Big Bang, and before that, there was nothing at all. There was no existence. Science connects non-existence to existence via randomness. It might as well declare its belief in miracles. The universe is a temporal and contingent expression of existence. What it derives from is not non-existence, but its opposite, eternal and necessary existence. The temporal and contingent universe is the universe of physics. The eternal and necessary universe that precedes it is the universe of metaphysics, or, as one might say, God. Science refuses to underpin the universe with God or metaphysics, so it has nothing else to reach for but randomness, i.e., anti-God, anti-metaphysics, anti-reason, anti-logic, anti-mathematics. What precedes physics is actually mathematics. Mathematics is what metaphysics is. Mathematics is God. Pure mathematics, ontologically, is something astounding. It is a vast collection of units called monads. These monads are minds. Each monadic mind is made of a complete collection of sine and cosine waves. These are none other than basis thoughts. To think is simply to combine basis thoughts. You can think any thought. Infinite thoughts are available. The eternal and necessary mathematical universe that precedes the temporal and contingent universe of physics is an immaterial singularity outside space and time. It's a mental domain, a frequency domain, a collective mind. This collective mathematical mind of sinusoids is God, and it thinks the scientific universe into existence via combining sinusoids. The sinusoidal domain of frequency generates the space-time domain of matter using the mathematical formalism of ontological Fourier mathematics. Mind creates matter. What could be more simple? What could be more beautiful? We can at last consign randomness to the dustbin of unreason and illogic. Math, not randomness, precedes the universe, and math is mind. Mind, frequency, is the generator of matter, space-time. Eternal and necessary things are concerned with metaphysics and not with physics. You cannot observe the eternal and necessary, but science is all about observation. Observation is the first step of its method. You cannot observe randomness either. Science has to opt for an unobservable to get its universe started. It prefers randomness to God. It prefers randomness to mathematics. The last thing it would ever accept is that mathematics causes physics, because then mathematics, not science, would be the proper way to study reality. Eternal and necessary things are approached via reason and logic, not the limited, fallible, unreliable, delusional human senses. Reality is understood by thinking types, not sensing types, by rationalists, not empiricists. Only perfect things are eternal and necessary. Science absolutely rejects perfection. Only perfection never runs down, never degrades. In science, everything runs down and degrades. God is that than which nothing more perfect can be conceived. Is there any sufficient reason why perfection should not exist? If perfection is not forbidden, it is compulsory. It is the compulsory base of existence. Perfect existence underlies imperfect existence. What is imperfect existence? It's temporal and contingent existence. There is no reason for perfection to be forbidden. In fact, perfection is perfect reason. If perfection is not impossible, then perfection is compulsory, and compulsory eternally. Eternal perfection is how people define God. Perfection has two ways in which it can be expressed. In the first way, it is eternal and necessary. In the second way, it is the culmination of temporal and contingent evolution. It is how the temporal and contingent order ends. If life has an apex, a maximum point, divinity, then divinity must be actualized. But if life does not come from non-life, and any claim that it does is a category error, it's impossible, just as existence coming from non-existence is. Then life must be eternal and necessary. God is eternal and necessary life. But God makes non-God, temporal and contingent life, which is highly imperfect. This temporal and contingent life then evolves, and at the culmination of its evolution, it becomes God, perfection. What does science above all oppose? The concept of perfection. Perfection is not scientific. Perfection is divine. Science loves randomness, total imperfection, total chaos, the absence of logic, causation, sufficient reason. Science hates perfection. It hates God. It hates perfect mathematics. If perfection exists, and there is absolutely no reason why it should not, then science is falsified. There is absolutely no reason why randomness should exist. It is totally contrary to reason, logic, and causation. Yet science stakes everything on that which is impossible, while completely denying that which is eternal and necessary. Perfection, the mandatory foundation of everything. Primary existence is and cannot be anything other than perfection, which is to say, God. Only perfection cannot degrade. Anything that degrades cannot last forever, as existence must do. To define perfection is to define existence. Perfection is the sinusoidal wave. It has no beginning and no end, and cycles on forever. It is infinite and also finite since it repeats a finite cycle over and over again. It can support both the infinite perfect order and the finite imperfect order. Only the eternal and necessary can support the temporal and contingent. Randomness cannot generate the temporal and contingent. It can't generate anything. God exists because perfection exists. Perfection's existence is compulsory, hence so is God's. God is not any kind of theistic entity. It is deistic. To be more precise, it expresses deistic panentheism. It is both immanent and transcendent. It supports both involution and evolution. And all of this is strictly mathematical, since only mathematics can furnish perfection. If you want God, you want math. Will do you.